Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Again, it's a great pleasure to be with you. This is the Action Require Media, like Stock. We are grateful to God to be here with each and every one of you. And thank you for following our podcast. Thank you for your comments from our last week podcast as well. We appreciate it. It is always a great pleasure to hear from you. Your comments actually help us to improve our talking points and to improve our platform. So, as always, we want to hear from you. Let's continue to talk about this one country that we all love to make it a better place for all of us and for our posterity. So, we want to say welcome to you today. I'm happy to be here with Honorable Moses Singbe. We are here to again talk about some fascinating topics. Everything is all Liberia. I want to bless God to just remind you every time we talk about our country, we do it from the perspective of the Bible. While we talk, we pray. We pray for each and every one of you. We pray for our leaders. We pray for our country because we want Liberia to be a better place. And as we all joined our efforts and get involved and together make that decision for Liberia, it becomes better. And so we don't want you to be on the sideline. We want you to get involved. All of you God's children, let's do it together. Let's speak together. Let's work together and make Liberia a better place for all of us. We all can play our part. So we want to welcome you to our discussion today. Today is Saturday, February 26, 2022. So welcome. Osigbe, I'm glad uh, that you are here for us to talk about some issues that we have outlined today to talk about concerning our country. I want to welcome you. But first, I want to ask you just this simple question. Just this simple question. Russia is attacking Ukraine. My question here is, are we going back to the days where the strong countries can just invade the smaller or the weaker countries? Is that the days we are going back to? What's your take on that?
Well, the first thing is that let me first say hi to the audience out there and precisely echo what you just said in our introductory in your introductory speech for the day or presentation. And we sit and we have this conversation. I just want them to know that the conversation draws our passion for our country. It's not that we like, people always say, oh, the people soon like people get together, they want to talk politics. And please, it's important as you hear these little discussions around your community, in your neighborhood, around your network, please encourage it, please get involved. And your 2 cents can mean a whole lot. Your input can mean it means a whole lot to the mindset. If you don't get involved, you would not know whether you and someone else shares the same ideology when it comes to the rebuilding of that country. Post-war, we have a lot of work to do, and the work can only be done if we begin to create relationship and speak about it. And like they say, uh, uh, the mind is willing, and the mind kind of what wherever you think what you're thinking is what you're gonna do. In short word, so if you don't think Liberia, you don't love Liberia, you're not gonna help in the rebuilding process of that country. So please, now, Pastor Waller, going to your question. The political climate right now is very toxic, with people wanting to show the power. Russia going into Ukraine is an exhibit of such power. When you start to, when people start to relinquish power based on the independence of others, they find ways strategically on how to regain the power. But the same token, the United States also is kind of helping to see how they can work with the Ukrainians to see how this thing can subside so that it won't result into hundreds of thousands of deaths. But Russia is saying that where they invaded used to be a territory of Russia, and he wants to take that back. Why he wants to take that back, he has not explained. Some of the reasons why I think he wants to take that back because of natural resources. You need to understand since the Cold War ended, Russia has not yet recovered from the demise of all of those things that happened, all of the sanctions that were on it. So taking over this country would have lifted their hope for some sense of independence where they don't have to depend on anybody. But now it has gotten worse. And I know all of the Russian allies are now breaking ties with Russia, and Russia will be kept alone on its own. And no man can survive by themselves. So it's tough for them, but we pray that the war is over. There's no casualty. There shouldn't be the amount of casualty people are predicting in the Ukraine or when it comes to Russia. I'm not sympathizing with them. The only thing I'm doing is being objective.
Right.
Yeah,
And I well, we need to pray for Ukraine, all of us. This imperialism, right?
yeah,
Africa and African countries have been the recipient of that. And so when these things are going on, we don't want a reoccurrence of that because this is 21st century. This is the country of development. This is the century of development,
yeah,
technology, and information. And for
yeah,
us to see that another leader can digress into, violating another country's sovereignty. I mean, it's just scary, and we hope that we don't move into that era again. Uh,
yeah,
we have to move on, almost simply. So back to our country.
yeah. Speaking of that, did you see the commentary where Mr. Weir imposed sanction on Russia?
No, I didn't see that. Wait a
It
minute.
apparently was reported on CNN that the president of the Republic of Liberia imposed sanctions on Russia.
Oh wow.
Why are you laughing? Like there's something funny.
I didn't. I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. Yesterday, it was
So
on the Dawn show.
ah
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I'll send it
What,
to you.
what's the significance of that? What significant impact
Ah,
would
you're asking the wrong person, my brother. You're asking the wrong person. I don't know. Liberia has some kind of interest in Russia, or Russia has an interest in Liberia. I'm not sure. Someone kind of threw out there Mattel Steel, and I don't want to think that Mattel Steel is a Russian company. I think
okay?
it's from Europe.
I
But
set up
again,
Mittal.
I can be yeah. Again, I can be direct. I can be corrected.
Hmm.
But they were saying that's the company that sent the Russians. So and maybe that's why they put sanction on them.
So for the sake of that discussion, so would that mean if Mittal was a Russian company, would that mean they would ask them to leave?
Apparently, you put sanction on people. That's what it is. You cut all your aid, all your affiliation with them. But I don't think this the sanction imposed was explosive, explanatory. So I don't know if they explain the effect and what is it that they were putting attention on and all of that. I haven't gotten the detail, but I just saw the headlines
Hmm.
last night. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is something worth, investigating or
Yep. Yep.
making
Yep.
research on. But
Yep.
anyways,
But go ahead with your question now.
yeah. So I want us to talk about something. I want us to begin with this issue that has to do with land in Liberia.
Ah, my brother.
And Singbe, the reason, one of the reasons I want us to begin with that is because a lot of people have reached out to me from the diaspora that have bought lands in Liberia, but then other people are encroaching on the land. In other cases, the land is being resold to other people. And some of the cases I'm talking about are cases whereby people built on those lands, and a particular family, other people from the family, from that family get angry and they go and break up the people building,
Uh
or
huh.
just do something crazy.
Well,
And well, before you come in, and this has been going on for some time now, and it's claiming the attention of a lot of people, but yet it has not been resolved. And I know you have, people that have experienced, people that have experienced that before. And so how can we resolve this land issue? It's getting worse by the day.
well, you got to understand these are all remnants of a civil conflict. And during the civil conflict, you had total anarchy, which means no law and order. People would do anything they want to do, without, you know, punitive, with no punitive. So here, what it is. My thought process: people went and occupy people land and think that it's there because they've been living there for so long. And I was talking to a young man this morning, and I told him, I said, one of the things that we need to begin to teach our people is that not because you're doing something for so long means it's right. You can do the wrong thing for so long, but if no one comes and corrects you, it's always right for you,
Yeah.
you know.
The wrong
But when
the
you
wrong
do it the
fix
right
like
way,
something
when you
right.
do it the right way, and you get better result, then you can figure that out. I said, but you have to have an open mind when it comes to these stuff. So when it talks about the land business, my brother, we have a good judicial system. My dad worked in the probate court, in debt court. My dad worked in every area of the courthouse except for the Supreme Court. He was supposed to go, and for some reason they did who know your thing, and he was never hired, and he quit and went and started working for the police department. But he worked for the probate court for the interest of our organization, the interest of our discussion this year. And the way I see it is that the rules of the probate court and the rules of the state needs to be enforced, because you have good laws when it comes to land issue. They have to be able to hold themselves accountable first before they can hold everybody else accountable. You see, and that's what I think the problem is. So this is a very small problem that can be solved, as long as you got the right people in authority. You
But
know.
Honorable Singbe, the thing is that people sell lands, take
The
that
money.
deal, go
Yep.
and probate the deal,
Yep.
but then the same people take the same land and sell it to
And
other
send it
people.
to somebody else. Okay. You know, and that's what it is. So if the first person get caught and they made a sample out of, it serves as a deterrent. Nobody would do it anymore. But when people do it and there's nothing done about it, it encourages other people to engage in the same behavior.
Do you believe
So
we still do you believe in Morovia, in the capital city, do you believe there are vacant lands that are supposed to be sold to other people?
what you mean that bigger lands? Where?
No, vacant. Do you think there are vacant lands
Where in Manoa,
in Morovia?
they got few vacant lots, and they got few lots where people put their zinc houses. I think if they get rid of those zinc shacks and stuff that people live in, they can probably improve the land. You know.
There are a lot of people that are being victimized,
Uh huh.
for a lack of better word,
Yeah.
because of what we are talking about.
Yep.
People spent their money from the diaspora, buy
Yep.
lands,
Yep.
and then when they go to Liberia, the land is not available. The land has been resold, and they have to use the entire time. Maybe they went there for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. They have to
Uh
use
huh.
the entire time to go to court, and sometimes the case is not resolved because of the way our judicial system is set up.
Uh
And
huh.
it becomes a complete waste of time where you have to bribe people here and there for you to even have a case.
You want to hear something funny? This just happened yesterday. Yesterday, this gentleman bought, I think, a couple of acres of land in the Dwazon area. All the deal, because his mom just went back home. All the deal has been probated. Everything is in the archives. You know what they told him yesterday? We can't give you the deed for the land until we pay back taxes, because the person who sold you the land did not pay back taxes for 5 years. But we're gonna take only 1 year. The 1 year is 1,000 and change. Yep, taxes.
For
Then they
property
send him.
tax, a
Listen
thousand
now.
and change
Listen
for
now.
one
Then
year.
they send him. Then they send him a picture, a plaque. It says 133 by so and so, and they put that there. Then they said is $3 and I think $3.40 per acre in taxes. So my question to him: who made the determination as to how much the taxes for this property? He said, I don't know. But that young man wanted his property so badly that he sent to Monrovia yesterday, right about 1 to 2 o'clock, 1,000 and change. And when he asked the question, what is about this part? What about that part? Because first they were charging him for the whole 5 years. They said, no, we'll only reduce it to 1 year. So he said to them, I understand you guys got to pay for this 1 year, but do you know whether or not the people will come after me for the remaining 4 years? Just hypothetically speaking. And you know what they told him? Oh, we'll take care of it. Nobody will bother you again.
Yeah, but now,
Because they
yeah,
saw they saw the $1,000 he sent, so nobody will bother you. Are you serious?
you know, well, yes, it collecting property taxes is not done by the court. It's done by the
Thank you.
NRA.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Thank
why
you.
is he why is he paying money to these people? They're going to eat his money, and then you will
That's
still
what
have the same
that's
problem.
that's what I elected to ask him. And I say, I wish you didn't send the money so that we can talk about it before you send the money to find out the facts. But he was so touched by the fact that he wants his land and he doesn't want he lives right here. He lives here in Delaware. It's sad. It's sad.
No, the land issue on Bosimbe is sad, and it seems like there is no resolution or there is no solution in sight. People
Well,
continue
the
to
solution,
experience this.
the
People
solution,
continue to experience these things.
there's always a solution to a problem, but provided the people involved will make the sacrifices. You see,
That's
and
exactly
and
what I'm
and
saying.
the land
It,
issue can
it,
be
it is not,
resolved.
it is not something that cannot be resolved. There is no
Yeah,
human problem that has no
yeah,
solution.
yeah.
But the thing about it is that we are still struggling to resolve this issue when a lot of people are getting hurt as a result of what is going on in
Yeah, a
Liberia,
lot of people getting
especially
burned.
people that are in the diaspora.
Yeah, they're getting burned. They're getting burned. Little man would say they're getting robbed. The people are taking their finances
So
from folks and lying to them.
so
And then you
so
go back and you go to the court system, they've already bribed the judges and the
yeah.
people. So you go report it, it's like putting water on duck's back. It just roll right off and it's gone.
So let me ask you: is there anything we in the diaspora can do? The Liberians in the diaspora, is there anything we can do concerning this particular issue?
Well, some of the things that people do that are effective is by coming up with a petition and have signatory petitions. If it's a pressing issue for everyone, you want a broad spectrum of the Liberian people to sign that petition and say, listen, we need to address this land issue. Not in an individual sense, but in a holistic nation sense. Whereas, the land that's owned by people that are registered, make sure that it is enforced that no one can sell somebody else's land, and they have some of those things in archives, some of the things that they don't have, and they can recover from. But the little one that they know, if someone raises an issue and bring a case, and I can tell you that's what it said. A lot of civil matter. Government don't want to handle it, so they say go civilly and sue someone, and then you're not there, you're out of the country, and they just squander more money from you. You cannot come to Liberia to resolve land issue, and the people know you travel in there to go address your land issue and take care of it within a week. You have to prolong your stay,
Yeah.
and sooner or later you either deplete your whole financial coffers that you took with you and start crying and looking for people to come to send you money. If they don't send it, then you have to leave everything and return to work and then save some more money to go back and fight again, because they will run you all around. People who don't even have land issues,
Yeah.
you got to go see them. For what reason? It's just unheard of. It's just unheard of.
Well,
I know someone who had some big land issue. They got someone there illegally squandering money for the people on the person's properties and land. So it's not an easy thing. The government needs to take some serious measures in making sure that this issue is resolved. I
I
think
think,
Ellen administration tried to do it because I knew the guy, Michael Dix, I think, who was in charge of, he was an attorney trained here and trained in Liberia, who was heading that. I know his family, but that's all I know. I don't know how much they were able to resolve some of those issues. I suppose they did resolve some issue, but it's such a huge issue now, especially in the Manoria and neighboring suburban areas, that especially on the Arawafi Highway. Everybody wants to own property on the Arawafi Highway. I'm not
yeah,
sure for what reason or another. Everybody wants to buy land over there. And nowhere else. You have a country that is underdeveloped, land all over the place, all over. You pass Ralphie, you go to Buchanan, you go to Kakata, beyond those areas. People are not fighting for land in those areas. They're fighting for land right there on Ralphie Highway. I don't know why,
yeah,
why.
because more places are not accessible, Ambosengbe. But I mean,
Well,
I think,
then
I think during the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration, I stand to be corrected. I think they passed a bill called the Fair Land Act.
okay,
Yeah, I think they had a bill, the bill that was passed
I think
into
so.
law. I have not read it. I have not read it. I don't know what it's supposed to do.
Okay.
Nothing. But I think I heard something like that. But
Well, let me suggest this. Maybe we need to research it. If I can get that before you do, or you get it before I do, let's share it and digest it. And that way, we can have, our next conversation in the future. We can discuss that in more detail with some of those
yeah,
facts.
yeah. Okay. I agree with that. And let me just say this. If you are in the diaspora and you come across our podcast and you have a land story that you want to share, we invite you to get in contact with us. We want to talk about this issue as many times as we can for us to find a resolution to this issue. This thing is hurting a lot of Liberians in the diaspora. And many of you, when you buy your land is resold. By the time you get to Liberia, they're going to give you the runaround. You don't have enough time to file a case, to be there for that case. And in most cases, at the end, you actually lose the land that you bought.
Not
And
only
so
that, but
this,
in most cases, you hire someone. You ask someone to assist you, they squander money from you. They continue to ask you for money. You send money, and yes, you end up losing the property.
Yeah. And so let's work together, talk about this issue as many times as we can, at least for us to find a remedy to this. And while we do the research on this Fair Land Act, let's see what if there's anything of that search and what it's supposed to address. And I think on Motsebe, before we move forward, I think the legislature has a role to play in this.
Precisely.
Yeah. Um,
You know,
man.
and immediately following the law, I had the president pro tem. What's his name? He used to wear these long Ivorian shoes. He came here. I just don't remember his name right now. But I managed. I was fortunate to be in his midst when he came to visit. And then I asked him, I said, we know that there was a war in the country and post war. A lot of bad things happened. And one of the things that we can begin to emphasize, you guys in legislature, can begin to do is to really look at the value of rebuilding our country. What blueprint are you guys putting together as far as laws and talking about people recovering their land and the rebuilding process? Because a lot of people build those shacks on streets and tunnels and all that stuff, and they're all center manure areas. So if you're going to really do that, I think you need to, really lay out the city in the rebuilding effort and see how you can. What you call it, what the word is, get these people to go back home. Repatriation. How do you plan on doing that? This guy had no clue what I was talking about.
Yeah,
He
mo-
had
mo-
no clue.
most of them don't,
He
and
had
that's
no
why
clue what I
that's
was
that's why
talking
our
about.
country is as weak as it is because we
Yeah.
don't have thinkers, uh,
No.
in both in the legislature and
In
in
every
the
branch of government.
executive. We don't have people that think. You know,
You know.
we do things the same way it has always been done, and we expect to get a better country, but we have to think better than that. Uh, Anyways, I think this is a serious issue that needs a lot of attention, and I'm hoping that we can give it the attention that it needs. And again, if you are in a diaspora, you have a land story that you want to share with Liberians, please get in contact with us. We want to make the land issue a central issue on our platform, so we all can, work together to get it resolved. Please do that. Uh, so let's move forward to we did not have the time to talk about the bicentennial celebration last Saturday. Uh, the celebration is over. What do you think are the achievements, and what's the prospect for the country
It,
regarding this bicentennial? What did this bicentennial celebration bring to our country? What the prospect we should expect?
did it tell you that it was over?
Well, I know it is a year. It is a year celebration, but we saw the opening ceremony on the 14th of this month. Well, it was well attended. Okay, but what's the prospect? What should we expect? What
do we do we really need to? Well, our previous commentary, our previous discussion included the fact that the bicentennial was coming into Liberia, and we thought that, I share my own sentiment, you share your own sentiment, and we were going to wait and see how things unfolded. And I think our sentiment were right on point, that we didn't think the bicentennial were given the kind of attention it should have gotten, the kind of planning it should have gotten, the kind of resources of investment into the bicentennial. Just having a celebration, opening, and people dance. That's not a celebration of 200 years of a country that used to be a haven for the continent of Africa, the first independent republic for black people on the continent of Africa that was never colonized. And 200 years later, it has the highest poverty rate on the continent of Africa. You have the immortality rate that is just exacerbating. You got the serious issue of health care. One of the most important things, no security, nothing after 200 years. So there are a lot of ills that needed to be dealt with. But again, it depended on the planning. And I'm talking from my own perspective here. And I don't see the bicentennial to this date. Maybe later on we can weigh some of those achievements. I don't think it achieved anything at this point.
Well, one of the things is
Uh,
supposed that's supposed to happen as a result of this bicentennial was to open Liberia to diasporan African Americans or blacks around the world to see Liberia as a place of return. You know,
well,
one of the things is that Wikisengbe, I think the government wanted to highlight uh, tourism during this time, at least to have people to go to Liberia or to have people recognize that Liberia is a site or the place for you know for tourism. Do you think do you think uh, there's a huge possibility here of that happening? That blacks around the world will see Liberia as a place of return?
well, um, taking Mr. John Amos, and I'm very, I'm sitting there with the utmost respect for this man. Taking him out of here and carrying him to Liberia and having him talk about eating pambada and cassava leaf. Seriously, that's what the bicentennial was all about. That come to Liberia, you eat cassava and pambada. Come on now. So let's get to what you just said. In our last commentary, we talked about the purpose of the bicentennial, and we read a statement on the bicentennial website that says that the goal of the government was to improve on tourism and bring investments. So if those two things are supposed to happen, we want to see how it's going to happen. But let not forget, right after the bicentennial, what the word in Manoria right now, the host, the government that hosted the bicentennial, or the administration that hosted the bicentennial cannot account for $1 million, for $3 million. They don't know what happened to the money. They
It,
can't they can't provide any detail of what the money was spent on.
okay, so the bicentennial
So
celebration, the budget was $3 million.
no. They said I think what I heard of someone told me yesterday. I spoke with someone is that there are $3 million missing from the budget of the bicentennial, and they cannot account for it. I don't know how true that is, if that's
Yeah,
what talk about.
I
But
haven't
but I
heard
can
that.
tell you, even at that, and that's the word on the ground. So if any of our viewer is aware of that, please just send us a comment if that's what's been talked about in Monrovia. But here we are though. You asked a point in more detail. Pointedly, you said that the government was looking to make people, especially attract African Americans to go back. And that intention of doing that was to replicate what happened in Ghana. Ghana did the return to Ghana, and they invested millions and millions of dollars, and it didn't take them 6 months to plan out. And today we see Ghana reaping the benefit. There are a lot of people that go home because there's a program that is set up. Even the the African American now that are going to Ghana are given rights to buy property, to acquire property and develop those properties. Are we ready for that in Liberia? Is that something we're looking to do? How do we replicate something that we don't know detail about, we didn't even study?
Yeah. And when we are still fighting Liberians in the diaspora from going
Exactly.
back
On the
home
land issue,
on the land issue.
you see? And that's important. Not only that, but you go to Ghana, the sense of security is there. Do we have the sense of security presence in Liberia at all? Can people go there and if something happens to them, they can go through the criminal justice system and not, seek justice, but be made whole again? Because a lot of people say we're seeking justice. What is justice? Sometimes when something happened to you, they can never rehabilitate you to get to that point that you were at. And that's not complete justice. That is trying to make you whole again. And they mix these things up and say, "Oh, I need justice. I need." Sometimes there are certain things you would not get full justice for because you would not be the same person that you were before that thing happened to you. There's certain issues.
Right.
So when we talk about the bicentennial, those are things. And one of the things that are really bother me is this whole conversation about country and Congo. I got friends who use the word Congo. I got friends who use the word country. And sometimes I ask them, what is the difference? What are you referring to when you say Congo people or country people? What are you talking about? I think the bicentennial should have hosted an educational, and it should be ongoing, something that can change the trajectory of Liberia in the mindset of education, healthcare, security. And if you're saying you're celebrating 200 years, you go back and study where you came from and where you are and see how you can change that. That means you're starting all over because Liberia is at a point where it needs to start all over. The little things that other leaders said and leaders did is gone. Now, how do you do that in recognizing leaders of Liberia? And when put Joseph Jenkins Rob picture up and the president picture up and the president government picture up. All the other presidents of Liberia, they were sycophants. You didn't even recognize them. If you're celebrating 200 years, celebrate everybody. Celebrate everybody.
Yeah.
Not a
Because
few.
even because the bad, the good, the inconvenience, the convenience, they all make our history.
They all make the
So you
history.
don't choose part of the history to recognize and leave the other part.
Precisely. Precisely. You don't do that. If we're going to talk about celebrating the whole 200 years, then let's take time to recall some of those things. If we don't know, do research, bring people. At least you made the effort. You may not get all, but make an effort. It should be an educational piece.
Talking about what you heard about $3 million going missing, they cannot account for. Uh, that's precisely part of what the United States delegation
Aha.
spoke about, right?
Precisely.
Corruption, corruption,
Yep.
corruption,
And human rights violations and human
corruption.
rights
Yeah, human
abuse.
rights abuses.
Yeah. And
Um,
you know what? And I think in our last commentary, we talked about it. I think few ways back, we talked about the sanction of Prince Johnson. And right before the bicentennial was celebrated that week, when we talked, we made mention of the committee, the legislators on the House floor that put a resolution in place to look at corruption in Liberia, and some of those people that identify with it. And you, if I ask the question, uh, is the extent or the honor of Biden's administration to Biden administration honoring the bicentennial by sending a delegation down there. What kind of image was that portraying, and what have you? We had a discussion on that, and I can tell you one thing, and I told you then, and I'll tell you again. They were recognizing 200 years when it first started in the United States, and they know there's a milestone for the United States. It's part of the United States history. And so their presence were going to be felt. And there was no way people should not have taken it out of context and said, oh, the American government had to reestablish relationship, that kind of diplomatic relationship with Liberia. And they're ready to start doing things for Liberia because they're going to attend the bicentennial. And they're going to try to encourage Black people to go to Liberia. My brother, it was just the opposite. And the person I talked to in Liberia went there just around the bicentennial and said they were really flabbergasted about the country, the dirt in the city, how dirty he was wondering. He said, my brother, I'm here and I'm wondering, all the people who came here for the bicentennial, where did they carry them? Where did they pass them? Because they can't sit down nobody piazza.
In the dirt.
They can't sit down nobody piazza and look outside in the yard because the dirt is all over the place. So where did these people go? What were they celebrating? And that was the question that he was asking himself. And he was so passionate about it, he became emotional on the phone. And I could feel it.
Yeah, that's how Liberians are. We all are passionate about our country. We want our country
Exactly.
to be a better place
To
for
be
all
a
of
better
us.
place. That's why we have these kind of conversations. That's why we want to encourage our viewers to give their comments because we know the passion that we all have for Liberia. At least if we don't have something in common, we have that in common. And this guy became emotional. He was like, I was just blown away. He said, up to now. And he comes back soon. He said, I cannot believe that these people they brought here, where did they go? Where did they host them? They drove on the roads because they think that the song is not something to celebrate. It's not something to celebrate. You put flag up, you pin the sidewalk from one place to the other place look messed up. My biggest problem is that the bicentennial was not intended, should not have been intended to only celebrate in Monrovia. I think the
It's
other
supposed to have been decentralized
it should have
throughout the
been
country.
nationally, throughout, simultaneously in different counties.
Yeah. When $3 million go unaccounted for, you cannot plan the program throughout the country.
No, you
$3
can't.
million is not a small money for a country like Liberia.
It's not small money for
You know,
Liberia. You're right. You're right.
no, of
You
course.
know, and
But
when and where did
something
that
else
money go?
I want us to to just highlight something happened
Hmm.
during the this bicentennial opening program. The president opened the executive mansion
Oh boy.
in a very long time. You sent me a video of the president dedicating the mansion with few other bishops and pastors.
They were praying.
Yeah, they were praying. There are a lot of stories about that executive mansion. People
Yeah.
think that a lot of human sacrifices were done on the executive mansion ground.
Yeah.
People think that there are things that are buried in the executive mansion. People think that a lot of demonic activities have gone on in the executive mansion. So of course, the president going to start working from the executive mansion, you know, things like that was necessary for dedication, to have happened. Uh, that I appreciated and admired that they were able to do that. He were able to do that with bishops and pastors. But my question here is: you did an entire article, you wrote an entire article on this executive mansion. There was something you said the other day when we talked about it that I thought it was an eye opening for me. And a lot of Liberians don't know when you said that the executive mansion, the Liberia executive mansion, is one of the secure places in Africa. It was an eye opening for me because I never thought of the executive mansion that way. And I am not alone. There are a lot of Liberians that don't know the importance of the executive mansion. Should we give the president and his administration some credit for reopening the executive mansion and the courage for him to start working from the executive mansion, the home of the Liberian presidency?
Well, yeah, we need to give him an accolade about that, um, because we know that the executive mansion, the incident happened, I think, in July of either '96 or '97,
2016.
2000. No, the
No, no, no,
incident
2006.
six
2006.
exactly 2006. I'm sorry, 2006, when supposedly a few rooms got caught on fire during the Independence Celebration Week, and the executive mansion had been ignored till 2021 opening. Um, preceding that, well, post the burning of the mansion, every year there were money set aside in the budget annually for reopening the mansion, renovating the mansion, and we saw that nothing happened. Let me try to tell you my own view on this sentiment of demonic possession, and witchcraft in the mansion. My people, my people, y'all listening, that house that they built there called Executive Mansion is for all of us. It's for the Liberian people. That house is the only building that the Liberian people own. One of the few buildings that the Liberian people own is our mansion. Just like in the United States, they go to the White House and people make appointment to go and tour the White House, even on the day that the president's working. I don't know if anybody has done that in the administration before. I must give it to the president to say that the executive mansion is operational. We know how what it has taken. What was required to get the house back open for the day-to-day operation and the representation of the nation. I said, but pray go tell me when you say the executive mansion has been dedicated and it's open, we see scaffolds stay on the executive mansion, stay being worked on. So why open it in a haste? If the work was being done, why not wait until it's totally completed? Because that's a security breach with people coming in and working and doing major work. We're not talking about, just doing some minor work around the mansion. We're talking about major work that needs to be done. From the scaffolds that I saw in the picture and the celebration, you know. But again, yes, it's good that the president is going to the mansion and he can be working for the mansion. I hope he's going to be working for the mansion and not for the foreign ministry. Now, when he has a guest, when foreign leaders come, they can go to the people's house. That's the executive mansion. When they were opened in 1964, everybody came from all over Africa to come see this beautiful, most secure building, I think, in that time on the continent of Africa, one of the most secure buildings. And that building was put there strategically, right there at that place that it was built.
And another thing that I want to highlight also is In the spirit of the bicentennial celebration, the president gave a proclamation of a pardon for
Oh my
Honorable
God.
Burning Samukai and 500 other inmates with no violent crime record. According to what the Honorable Minister Nathaniel McGill said, that the president will ask the Justice Ministry or the Justice Minister, one of the two, to make recommendations on the 500 people that's supposed to be pardoned by the president. Um, but when I saw that the minister read a proclamation from the grounds of the executive mansion, I think in a hall or something, it looks beautiful. I was excited to see that, the executive mansion was still in a good, it looks pretty much good. I was a proud Liberian when I saw that. You know, when I saw that. Before I go to the proclamation thing, let me ask you this: have you visited the executive mansion?
Well, I visited Executive Mansion, I think once or twice in the late '70s and early '80s, and we were restricted as to where we could go. So I didn't get to see the entire building, tour the entire building.
The the
But the
executive,
grounds, but the grounds alone
yeah.
was so attractive back in the day with the water and all that stuff and people driving. It was one of the most beautiful, attractive buildings. And I remember walking, I think it was in 1973 or 74. I was walking from demonstration school, and William R. Tolbert used to take his walk in the evening, right before the flag went down, or right after the flag went down. Because every morning they used to hoist the flag and put the flag down. And if you were passing by that building, you had to stop your car. If you were walking, you had to stand in attention while they hoist the flag and while they brought the flag down. I think 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So I was walking, and the flag came down, and I started walking on the side of where the executive mansion was, and Tolbert was coming in his white suit. He usually used to walk around, and this guy in a little boot, one of the security guys in the little boot, said, "Hey, you go across the street." And Tolbert literally told him no, and called me, and I shook his hands that day. Tolbert actually shook my hand and asked me.
Wow.
He told me, he said, and as I said, I can vividly remember. In fact, my parents laughed at me. Up to this day, my mom, my stepmom still laughs at me because they didn't know how I got home. But Tolbert shook my hand and he said, "How you doing, young man?" And I said, "I'm doing fine." And I was there nervous and shaking. And he says to me, "You coming from school?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What school you go?" I said, "Demonstration." He said, "Oh, I know Miss Wilson. Is she treating you good?" And we'd laugh about it because people knew Miss Wilson was one of the toughest person, but everybody that went to demonstration school excelled in life. So he said, "Well, education is very important. Go to school, learn all the book, and you will be a good person." And I took that home with me. I ran from there when I left the president, went through the university campus, went down the hill to Jalatan because by then I was well, living right behind City Hall in Jalatan. I got home and I sat down and I started to tell people, Towa shook my hand. I'm not going to wash my hands. You see, that's the beautiful story of that building. I told him, I said, nobody gonna touch my hand. I'm not even touching nobody's hand. I'm telling you, my stepmom can tell you that story if you talk to her today. She's still alive. She would tell you when I came, I didn't even want to eat.
Wow.
Yes, 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 yes. And you see, that's what I remember. That's what I remember that building was. And the person occupying that building, that's what I remember. And I try to remember that every day. And Every time I have the opportunity, I explain that story, and I
and
carry
and
that with me.
and
So,
it's beautiful hearing that from you, almost simply. And why you shared that, one of the things I was thinking about is that, you know, Liberians who are at your age, you know, not at your current age now, but you know, when you met Turbo, who at your age at the time you met Turbo, what is their view of the Liberian presidency?
oh my God,
You
I
know,
can't begin to say. I hope not to try to even say what their view is, because I don't know. Given the sense of poverty, the lack of health care, the lack of, there's no justice system, there's nothing. Because that time of my age, I could walk in the street all happy. The armor will fall down, I'll pick up the armor, I just rub it in my shirt, I eat it. Today, you can't do those things. You can't. You can't. You have 5 cents, you took it for recess. That's plenty of money for you. That's a lot that you will get for 5 cents or 10 cents. Today, it does not. So I can't even begin to imagine the
yeah.
young people or the children of that age group today as compared to when I was growing up. I can't
Mhm.
imagine, you know.
Because
But
they,
you
that's
but you touch on something, and I don't want us to go away from it. The president pardoned Mr. Bernie Sanders and 500 other persons. I hope we can spend a few minutes on it to give you my perspective on that.
we will come to that. You know, I think what you are sharing uh, about their experience with the late president, President Turbo, I think it should give a lot of Liberian insight on how important our presidency, the office,
Oh,
the office is. Because today, on the same way, people insult the president anytime they want to, and we do it in the name of freedom of speech, or we do it in the name of maturing our democracy. That is not the Liberian way. It is okay for you to disagree with a person. It is okay for you to disagree with them on the issues. But to degrade the presidency to the level of people insulting, abusing the president, I think it is disturbing because, like you mentioned, it, it gave the young people that are growing up a different perspective of what the presidency is, the power of the office. You know, we don't have to see the person that occupies the office as the individual, because the person represents the office. And if we respect that office, we should respect the person that occupies that office. It is okay for you to disagree with his policy, with his ideology, with his leadership. It is okay for you to disagree with the things he or she does, but to deliberately insult the president in the ways that we have seen in our politics, I think it is not a respect for our country. It is not respect for our constitution. And I think Liberians should desist from doing that, most especially politicians,
I
because
think,
that office is unique. It represents all of us as Liberians. And when we don't respect that office, we don't respect the country.
well, I couldn't say it more better than you did, my brother. But there are leading factors to where we are today for people to do that. I'm not giving them any credit for doing that. I think it's wrong and it's degrading to our leadership. And and you can't cuss at someone and expect them to do anything to change your life. And that's human being. We're human beings. Despite the president being the head of the country, and the people always say, if you want to be a leader, you got to have thick skin. Yes, but we stay human in the flesh. And It's important for us to respect. Now, when we speak of the office of president, how many of our people in Liberia, how many young people you would ask today that would say they want to be president? That would say, I want to do all the right thing like that president. I want to get there to do the same thing that person is doing. You know, let me tell you something. I've been in this country for a while. I came here when Reagan was president. I saw all the presidents after that: George Bush, Bill Clinton, another Bush, Barack Obama. Uh, uh, uh. So, one of the most telling time in the country, in our communities, everybody wanted to excel. And I think that stay is that sentiment when you look at young people today. When Barack became president, everybody wanted to be president. Every black person you saw, every little kid, black, white, Latino, they saw the chance to say that, man, I can be president of the United States, the leader of the free world.
True. True. True.
So when you say that today, from back in those days, when we were growing up, we went to school, we learned civics, which told you your civic responsibility as a child growing up, what was expected of you. It told you who was in charge of what and those things. One thing that we didn't do, we didn't talk about being market women, about the market women thing, about people being independent, having their own businesses and all of that, because again, we thought that was something that the Nigerian people were doing. And today, seriously, we all wanted to be minister so we can sit down in the back in the big car. So when we went to school, we ascribed to those needs, to those things. I want to learn books so I can be the minister, I can be assistant minister, I can be director for this department, because that's what we saw vividly. We didn't see strong business people in the Liberian culture. That's what people say today. Oh, Liberian people didn't mean nothing for themselves. If you see the thing and you learn from it, you want to be it. But you don't see it. All of the Lebanese people, the Indian people, they want to have the big, big stores. The Nigerian people had the shops. In our neighborhood, oh, go to the Nigerian shop, go buy this. Go to the Fula shop,
Every
go buy
community
this.
had a Nigerian shop.
Exactly. Every community had a Nigerian in the Fula shop. You want to fix your car? Oh, go to the Fula man. You know? So when you talk about young people today looking at that place and saying they want to be there, there's a whole lot missing. Our people don't feel the sense of responsibility for that country. They don't think they're responsible for anything that's going on. And it's a shame.
It is.
And it bothers me every day.
It is.
And that's why I said, beginning this conversation is that people always say, oh, y'all are Brimpo, you're not to talk politics. When do you not want to talk politics when it comes to your country in that kind of position? If we're talking politics, then yes, I would talk politics every day. Like many other people, many, many, many other people, they have a passion for that house, for that country. That's why they discuss it all the time. When you
Right.
get to gallery, funeral, birthday parties, all these people, oh, yeah, they know. They're not going to sit down and talk in politics again. My people, we need to stop that.
Yeah.
That's the only way change can come in Liberia. When we start to have this discussion, we start to understand that we all have the same goal and we all have the same passion for our country. If you don't have a discussion with someone, you would not know that you guys have the meeting of the minds when it comes to some issues facing our country. That how problems are solved. In developed countries, they say think tank. People sit down and discuss these things. They're not talking politics. They're discussing strategies.
Yeah. Let
So
me quickly get let me
don't
quickly
get me
get
started, man. Don't get me started.
yeah. I mean, a lot to talk about, a lot to
Mm,
get
mm,
to.
mm, mm, mm.
But we almost out of time. Let me get your quick input on
The
the
percentage.
the pattern of almost Samukai.
Here's what my sentiment was. I was in Liberia in March when this whole thing started to unfold. I drove by the election commission office and I saw a few people from Lofa County there. And I felt bad for the situation that was going on with Samuka. The election commission declared that he met all qualifications to run for the seat of senator. He ran, he won the seat. And these are some of the things that the American delegation spoke of. But they would not name point all of these different ills in Liberia. And it took one or two persons to make the decision as to whether to honor and sit this man as a senator. Let me make Liberian people know something today. In democracy, if the full Senate is not seated, the government does not function. If you arbitrarily just say no, this person cannot be, if you don't have a full Senate, you don't have a full government. That's not a full balance of power in democracy. And it took few individuals, one or two persons, for political reasons, not to seat Bernie Samuka. And I only saw few people there. The whole county of Lofa County should have shown up, and they should have demanded. They should not have collected money and pay a penny to the government because we know the story of what happened to Bernie Samuka. And for the president to think it's politically expedient for him to get up and say he giving Bernie Samuka a pardon, it's a disgrace to the office of presidency. I would say that anytime, any day, anywhere. It's a disgrace. And then not only that, you haven't even asked your justice minister and the solicitor general to review everybody that are incarcerated to see who you're gonna pardon. And then you make that kind of announcement and say you're gonna refer them to the it's another opportunity for corruption. Because now there are going to be thousands and thousands of people going to the Minister of Justice office
Yeah.
because they want their person, their parent, their family member name to be on that list.
And they'll be willing to pay any amount for it.
And they will be willing to pay for that person name to be on that list. Better yet, they'll be making a deal with those individuals. If we free you, you better tell your family to vote for Judge Weah in the upcoming election. So all these things running through people's head. Did he do it for political reasons? Did he do it because there's election coming and those 500 people can be multiplied to maybe about 15,000 or 100,000 people based on the family? You know the family culture that we have. When one person is sick, everybody is concerned about it. Every individual that get out of jail, who's in jail, may have about 300 to 400 members, family members that worry about them being in jail. Do we know if those people were even adjudicated? Looking at where the systems are, I was there 2013. I know there were people who were incarcerated who had not even been adjudicated, never went to court, never been charged, and they were there
Yeah.
for no reason,
There
for
are a lot
no
of people
assignment,
in prison and in jail
in
that have
prison.
never been given, their day in court,
No.
and they are still there, and that is a
Yes.
violation of our laws.
Yes.
Mm, yeah. So you
So
are right
when
about
you
that.
do this thing, when you do this and say, I'm going to pardon 500 people, I want to see the list of the whole trial document, how those people were sentenced, why they were sentenced, the evidence presented, because those are things you look at before you pardon someone. So the president just put it on for him all.
So
Because you got to look at, let me
before we
say
move on
something.
this,
Let me
one
say
second.
something real quick. The president, everybody that is going to be recommended to the president, he has to see the case in its entirety, individually. It's not a cluster of people. You don't take every charge. You can commit murder, I can commit murder. Our cases are uniquely different. So you can't say all the people who commit murder here, this time they can go. No, you got to look at each person individually, uniquely. Examine their case before you can award them pardon. So let's see. My challenge to them is that let's see when they're going to start pardoning people. Since they got 500 as the mark.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I don't know. I know that when a president is in office, over time he pardons people, but for a president to pardon 500 individuals at the same time, I have never heard something like that. But it is within his constitutional authority to do that.
Exactly. I
But
know that.
let me ask you this: you said it is a shame to give a pardon to Bernie Samuka. Are you saying that Bernie Samuka was never to be pardoned?
He was never to be pardoned because he was never to be found guilty of any crime.
But he was found guilty
That's what I'm telling you. That's the corrupt system you have. Guilty of what?
of using the AFM money.
For what? For what purpose? For himself?
What was the purpose?
They said that he used the money that were intended for one for the other. That's 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 not investment. And he received a directive from the president of the Republic of Liberia.
Yeah, but
So
the
why are you
code.
going to prosecute someone who are following their
Yeah, but
leaders'
the money
direction?
was not for the government. Number one, the money was individuals. The money was
Precisely
for
that.
individuals.
But
The
guess
president
what?
of Liberia has no jurisdiction, no
Yeah.
authority over individuals' money.
So
So
who?
he was never to use the money, even if it was from the president.
Okay, wait a minute. Who gave the money? Where did the money come from?
It was their paid. It was money extracted from their paid
For what purpose?
for a service they provided.
Listen, my brother. The money was allocated for the retirees.
That's not what I heard from the
Okay.
minister.
What did you hear from the minister?
The minister said that the money that was used, it was individuals' money. It
Okay.
was the EFL soldiers' money.
Yes.
And since it was individuals' money,
Retirees.
well,
Retiree.
I don't hear the word retiree. But
Okay.
he said it was the EFL soldiers' money.
Okay.
And since it was individuals' money, the
Uh-huh.
government had no jurisdiction over that. And so for a president to
Uh-huh.
authorize you to use money that belonged to individuals,
Mm-hmm.
it was why they found him guilty.
Okay. Who does the minister works in pleasure of?
The president
Okay. Why the president appoints ministers?
to, well,
Because the
yeah,
president only got one butt and two foot.
yeah,
You cannot
to
be in
carry
every
out
ministry
his,
and working.
yeah,
So
to carry out his
anybody
vision or
that's
her vision
appointed to represent the president
or policies.
represents the president. Work for the president.
Yes,
And that's what we need to know. So he was working at the pleasure of President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
true.
Your boss directed you. Your boss was one of the person who instrumental the separate of creating that fund for that specific purpose. And the boss tells you we're in a serious state of emergency. That money is sitting there. We need emergency fund. We don't have the money in this coffers. I would direct you to use that money for X, Y, and Z. Do you say no?
My issue
No, no,
is,
no, no, no. I just posted a question. Do you say no?
well, it's difficult to say no to the president.
Thank you. Number one. And you got an Ebola crisis at the time. Millions and millions of people were going to die, or hundreds of thousands of people were going to die. You see, and
All
our
of the
people,
rationale you're giving almost simply is logical, but
yes,
it's not the law.
but
The law says
I better,
the code deals with the law and the evidence provided. The court found him guilty.
yeah,
We
that's what I
cannot we
said.
cannot read we cannot retry the court
What
and
is
the
the
case here. But that is what I would say. That is what I would say.
yeah?
What I would say is that I think what the the president and his administration wanted was that Bernie Sanders should not take a seat.
You know that.
So
You know
now,
it was
now
political.
they have the
You know it
opportunity
was
now to
politically
feed
motivated.
a CDC candidate in Lofa County to
Yeah,
win the seat, so
you
that
know that.
2023 they will have an advantage.
But you know the
So
political implications in all this action.
yeah, and
That's
then
where
the
I'm coming
pardon, the
from.
pardon is the pardon is, well, okay, Lofa County is crying for Bernie Samuka to not go to court, so we give him, you know, a pardon, but he cannot still take a seat. We will feed a candidate, win Lofa County, and then 2023 will have an upper hand. So maybe Jefferson Koji is going to run in Lofa in a
Yeah,
by-election so that they can have an upper hand.
my brother.
Let's move on. We have a
That's
little
part of
bit.
the corrupt. That's part of the corruption that the delegation again was talking about. We do things to suit our own personal interest and not the interests of the nation.
Yeah, but the sad
And
thing about it, though,
that's when I said.
we
That's what
call
I
that
said.
politics, right?
That's
We call that politics, but that's corruption.
yo 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 yo. I must say we don't call that politics.
No, no, no.
That is not politics.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. When these things happen, people equate that to being politics.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. But that's not politics, that's
Thank you,
corruption.
thank you. That's abuse of power. Total abuse of power. And I will keep it as that.
And abuse of power is corruption.
Of course.
So, yeah. Well, last thing before we leave today. Yesterday on the Spoon Talk, the United Party Secretary General was on. He says something that fascinates me, and that is he was asked about he and the former Vice President Ombo Joseph Boakai was cited to appear in court as witnesses for the government.
Huh?
As witnesses for the government in the Cummings and Hewitt trial. But he said that he and the former vice president have never received a citation to be witnesses in this trial. But consistently, the SG have always said that Joseph Boakai is one of his witnesses rather. Mo Ali is one of his witnesses. Yomli Kaka Lawrence is one of his witnesses. He's calling these people names, and the Secretary General said on Spoon Talk yesterday that they had never received citation to be any witness for anybody. Why is he lying about his witnesses in this trial?
Well, the first thing is, my own sentiment about the trial. The trial, from my own learning, school of thought, that process should be a civil trial. I don't think that the government had the rights to ask Cummings to come and present document to incriminate himself, and for them to use the same document, the same document against him. It's just a mockery that the people making of the democratic system in Liberia. That's total mockery that they're making of the system. We profess to say we have a democratic election and we see all these things going on. And we try to say that we practice democracy and we see this thing going on and people don't rise up to the occasion to even defend it, the rights of people. The SG does not have absolute power. His position there is to interpret the Constitution. If what he's doing is saying that he interprets the Constitution, he needs to be kicked out of there because he doesn't know what he's doing.
I think he doesn't know what he's doing. The
He
fact that
doesn't
he's
know what he's
lying
doing.
about
Because
witnesses
I
when he
understand.
have never sent out
If-
citations,
No.
he calling people by names,
Yes.
and
you know what?
saying to the public that Joseph Boakai is willing to testify against Cummings. Mo Ali is willing to testify against Cummings when he have never cited them to be witnesses.
Remember what I told you the last time? You go into fishing in the water, you put your hook and the bait on your hook to see what will catch it. That's what they're doing. This guy is playing dirty politics for the administration. One time the minister got there, and what did the minister say? The chief executive for the Ministry of Justice said the SG were making his own decision. He didn't know what was going on. So, dude, tell me, listen, what power the SG has to do that? Everything based on the position of a justice minister. He provides logistical supplies. He does everything to make sure that our office runs. If anyone's doing anything to sabotage our office, they need to leave. He, the minister, he can get rid of them. The SG is not elected. He's appointed.
It seems that
at the pleasure of the minister. Now,
it seems like the minister
SG,
does not have that jurisdiction over this SG.
Listen, if the SG is there and has more power than the minister of justice, then the minister of justice needs to step aside. Because
that's how it seems like.
Yes, it seems like that. And the SG, if I was the minister of justice, I'll step aside. But they're all in the same hole trying to fight their way out. They're all in the same hole trying to maintain their positions. So they want to put the blame on the SG. But I can tell you the minister knows about it. The president of Liberia knows about it.
Yeah,
the secretary, the man they call Mr. McGinn knows about it. They know
it's a waste of time because number
what they're doing
number one, this is the SG.
They're trying to polarize the whole electoral process, and they're going to do that because if he hasn't sent citations out and he claiming that Joe Boakai is one of his witnesses, he put in Joe Boakai out there. He put in the vice president out there, and people will see him as one of the person who conniving with them.
Exactly.
In this
and that is what I'm surprised about. When he says things like that. But yeah, it's this SG go around into restaurant, into Kobo shops, everywhere, talks about this case, but have never presented any real evidence.
And guess what? Because there's no case.
There's no case. There's nothing. There's no nothing, case, absolutely nothing there. And he is lying about witnesses.
Exactly. And the people need to rise up against him. The people need to rise up against him. He doesn't have a case. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he's being directed by somebody or by a group of people to do that, to think the whole process. And then they're going to point their finger. The final analysis is that nothing's going to happen. And they're going to paint Cummings as a bad guy. And they're going to make Joseph Boakai look like a bad guy. They're going to make Yumbi Konga as a bad lady. Everybody. So now guess what? You don't have any contestant against Mr. George Weah. That's what they're doing. From my own estimation.
No, you're right. I agree. I agree with
from
you.
my own estimation, they're mudding the water. They're muddying the water for
Yes,
every
and I think the
opposition,
Unity Party need to come out strong
for every.
than
But
that.
I told you,
That
my brother, I
that
told you
no
we
no
don't
no no.
have.
It is good for those things to be clarified and corrected.
Yeah.
When people are using the former vice president's name, when he
Mhm.
is not involved with it, they need to be swift in responding to things like that. Because
Well, that's
as you said, they are trying to set him up against other people. Do you
yeah.
know how many people have believed that Joseph Walker going to show up in court, take the witness stand, and testify against Cummings? If
Especially
Mo
so.
Ali have not said that yesterday, I would not be here asking you, and we're talking about these things
Exactly.
because I have always believed that he was excited to show up in court and testify against Cummings, which is absolutely out of the character of the former vice president. And so I was excited to hear that yesterday when Mo Ali said it. But this SG should be shamed, he should be disgraced, and he should be reproof of what he is doing, because this is not what we expect of the Solicitor General of the Republic of Liberia should be doing.
Precisely. Precisely so. That position is an independent, should be an independent and most objective position, because you are the chief interpreter of the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. So the person who aspires for that office should be examined thoroughly, and they should be determined that this person is not going to waver in any condition whatsoever. But again, that's what we call LIB.
Yeah. Well,
The unheard of happens in LIB.
that's true. Well, thank you. Thank you for a fascinating discussion today.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Well, thank
Um,
you. And thank our viewer out there for your patience and for hanging out with us. Please let us know how you felt and what you felt, and let us get your input. If we said a thing that you have, adverse or agree with, we want to hear that. We're not here to create adversary relationships, to just have people be puppets to us. We want to share the information as we know it from our own perspective and our own estimation, and we want you to validate what we say. If you know any better and you know that we're wrong, please correct us, and we stand corrected in everything that we've discussed. So we want to thank you again on behalf of Pastor Wallo. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Mr. Pastor Wallo. Thank you, and tell brother, the minister himself, that we miss him today. I think it would have been more interesting than the last one. Where
yeah, yeah.
we spent everything on our Unity Party stuff. But I thank you for this opportunity. Most of these topics we will go back and talk about it more
Yeah,
as we get
yeah.
more into it.
Absolutely,
Go
absolutely.
ahead.
Thank
Thank you
you,
for this time.
thank you for what you always bring to this platform. We appreciate it. Liberians do appreciate it. And I want to say thank you. I pray that you have a blessed weekend, and the rest of the weekdays should be blessed. I also want to say that again, I want to reach out to any of you Liberians in the diaspora that have experienced and has a story about this land issue. Please reach out to us. We want to make this land issue a center discussion on our platform, because a lot of Liberians are getting hurt about what is happening with land in Liberia, at least to bring some attention to it. So please reach out to us. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we all can put our efforts together for us to resolve this issue. It can't continue to happen. We have to talk about it to bring some stability and solution to it. So thank you. We look forward hearing from you, from your text messages, and from your feedback. Until then, we will see you next week, Saturday. And God bless you and your family. And have a wonderful time in church tomorrow. God bless you.
God bless you.